There are so many experts on narcissism on the net. I recently saw something where it was said one way to recognize a narcissist is that they fill up the room. And I was wandering around my place and thinking, Jesus probably filled up the room when he walked into it. Although I know he spent a lot of time outdoors. What about the Buddha or Mother Teresa or Mahatma Gandhi? They probably filled up the room. Does that mean that anyone with an aura is a narcissist? And what about some of these charismatic personalities like Marilyn Monroe or Muhammad Ali or Jack Nicholson? Because under that model, they would all be suspect. This could be how psychology falls ill in James Hillman language. Maybe we should all be a little bit wary of diagnosis. And why did Carl Jung say most people walk around in shoes that are too small for them? I like what James Hollis said, that it depends on whether someone is serving something larger or not. The important thing is that there is a mystery so much greater than ourselves. Even Bob Dylan said, you have to serve somebody. But I would say maybe it's not somebody, but the mystery that is greater than ourselves. Anyway, I've found the cure for narcissism and I found it on Facebook. It is the ego death. It has to do with the ego death. And I'm not sure whether Chaos Prime, who wrote this, is a Zurich trained Jungian or not, but I think he might be onto something. This is what he said. After each ego death event, the new ego that arises is a little less brittle, more resilient. What will destroy the sixth iteration of a person, the first iteration could not have survived mere contemplation of. Eventually, the capacity to let someone be wrong on the internet emerges. So the cure of narcissism is when you can ultimately let someone be wrong on the internet. Just scrolling through Facebook, you come across a psychology like this: the 5 ways to diagnose a narcissist, the 7 ways to diagnose a psychopath, the 247 ways to find out if you're dating a male with toxic masculinity who might secretly be a necrophiliac. Okay, I'm exaggerating about the last one, but by now you probably get my drift. And I'm not trying to say there isn't pathology or a few necrophiliacs, or that dead people shouldn't be extremely careful of them. But I'm not sure that there are quite as many necrophiliacs as what some people think. And I would say that in Australia, there's probably a few necrophiliacs in Sydney or Melbourne, but I can't see there being any in Fremantle. But sometimes it can feel like this psychology of illness can make us feel ill. And that might be the illness of psychology, as James Hillman calls it. And Hillman reminds us that psychology was named after Psyche from myth, and she was said to be beautiful. So what can psychology tell us about the beauty of the psyche or the soul? And we look towards psychology to nourish our own soul, he said. And elsewhere he said it's beauty that feeds the soul, and we need beauty to live. And he also said, of all of psychology's mortal sins, the most mortal is the neglect of beauty. There is, after all, something quite beautiful about a life, but you wouldn't think so from reading psychology books. And I might add that you wouldn't think so from reading some of the psychology on Facebook. And even more than being able to diagnose illness everywhere and all around, there could be an even greater need to recover a sense of the beauty of the psyche or the soul, and of the cycle or the soul in the world. Even Carl Jung said that as he went on, he'd stopped diagnosing people. And he said he was more interested in the numinous than in neurosis. And if we are interested in the psyche, maybe we should look more towards its experiences of the numinous, because those kinds of experiences can be deeply transformational experiences. And you know, when I first read Memories, Dreams and Reflections, one thing that I liked about Jung was when he worked at the Bergolzi Clinic, whilst everyone else seemed to be running around diagnosing all the crazy people, Jung actually listened to what they said, and and then ultimately he drew some connections between what people were saying and myth. But it was the fact that he listened to what people said, so-called what so-called crazy people said. I think that's something about even more important than diagnosis is this sense of the beauty of the psyche or the soul, and this archetypal sense of the beauty of the psyche or the soul. Anyway, getting back to narcissism, I'm not trying to say that there can't be malignant narcissism, and that can be extremely damaging. But what I'm trying to say is that the term narcissist is thrown around very loosely these days. It's like there has been a kind of a bracket creep. Sometimes it seems like psychology has been weaponized and then turned into a blunt piece of wood to whack a few unlikely ex-boyfriends or girlfriends over the head. And I can't help thinking it has been politicized. And if you don't like someone's politics, it doesn't always mean they are a pathological narcissist. And it makes you think about diagnosis as accusation or diagnosis as weapon, particularly when it comes to narcissism. And I sometimes wonder whether psychology might be psychopathologizing otherwise half-sane normal people, and labeling people narcissists has become like a modern version of playing pin the tail on the donkey or throwing confetti around at an Italian wedding. And you can't say someone is a narcissist because they are non-vegetarian or they lean to the right or they have a different political view. Psychology wasn't ever really meant to be a weapon in the culture wars. Anyway, the word toxic has become toxic, if you ask me, because it doesn't really remind of the psyche or of its beauty. And it doesn't really nourish the soul. And whilst there are people in psychology who get fixated on illness and the illness all around us, we also might need more of a sense of the tremendous mystery and of the beauty, and more of a sense of the sacred.